Welcome to the Skeptic Zone, the podcast from Australia for science and reason.
It's a sunny day. It's a big weekend of science as people are sciencing all over the place. But who's this?
Hello, Maynard.
Hey, hello, we're outside a pub, which is a lovely pub with lovely food, with people giving great service, but it's full of rotten kids. I don't like kids, I'm afraid. You all love your kids, and I know you do, but I've never had kids, and there's a reason why, because they annoy me.
Oh, Maynard. Folks, we're at the Henson pub, which is in the suburb of Marrickville, having lunch. Some of the Australian skeptics and Maynard and I are here to have a chat to Lawrence Leung, the comedian, skeptic, mentalist we saw last night.
Yeah, he's just done a season in Melbourne, of course. He's done a season here in Sydney. He's heading over to Perth, and he might be doing a few other national dates in the near future.
Yeah, and we'll find out soon, as you're going to have a little chat with him as part of the show. This is the Skeptic Zone, episode 392.
Oh, hang on, the weather report. People like to get the weather report off you. We're standing outside at the moment, and we're not getting wet. That means it's not raining, I guess.
And it's slightly overcast today. It's, about 22 degrees, rather pleasant.
Hey, yes, and the barometer is, I don't know, it's busted.
It's busted. Coming up on this week's... You want to know what's coming up on this week's show, mate?
I do. What's coming up on the show this week?
Coming up this week... Well, we've got Lawrence Leung, of course. Another interview with him, and you'll be asking those hard-hitting questions.
Yeah, like, how do you spell your last name?
That's a hard-hitting question. We've also got Heidi Robertson from the Northern Rivers Vaccination, and our reporter. Recently, in the last week, up in that area, the hotbed of Woo had their first skeptics in the pub. Heidi brought her microphone along, and we hear from first-time pubbers at a new Skeptics in the Pub.
Wow, I can. That'll be a hotbed of something in the future as soon as all the groups come together. You know, it's going to be wild. They'll have people turning up there going, I don't like you people. Yes, I do. I predict that will be a fun evening in months to come.
We'll have to send you up there, I think, Maynard. Also on this week's show, we're going to cover the story which we brought you a few weeks ago about the chiropractor manipulating the back of a 4-day-old baby. And that's now sort of gone viral, and a lot of people are up in arms about that.
And I believe a couple of the national news networks have been running more stories on that, and people are going, they did what?
They did what? It's gone international, and as you'll hear later on in the show, Radio National here in Australia, the ABC, ran a lengthy story about this very topic.
Wow. Okay. And it is such a busy day. Everyone's out because it's here in Australia. It's our Anzac Day weekend, where we celebrate not winning a battle.
We don't. It's not. It's a commemoration, I think. It's our Veterans Day. Yes,
it's our Veterans Day, and we honour our veterans. And over the years, I've done many stories with veterans, and I have really enjoyed talking to veterans of the Malayan emergency. That's one of the ones that you don't get to hear about very much.
You don't hear about that much. No.
Yeah. And then there was Australian and British troops involved in that, of course. And look, a lot of people go, if only Vietnam had been more like that. But things went on during that you couldn't have done in Vietnam because of the coverage of it. It's a very... I'd recommend people to have a little look at it. And it was called the Malayan Emergency for insurance reasons, because if it was a war, it changes the whole plant, because people owned rubber plantations in the area, and that would have changed the whole way that the insurance would have dealt with any damage that came from the war, because it was an emergency, not a war.
Yeah, that's why I listen to the Skeptic Zone, because I learned lots of stuff. I also learned from listening to the Skeptic Zone about Bunga Bunga. How's that going?
Bunga Bunga with Tim Ferguson's going fine. Tim Ferguson, of course, a member of the Doug Anthony All-Stars. It's the opposite of the Skeptic Zone, really. You don't learn a thing on that show. There's lots of gross general speculation about nothing that means anything, really. But Tim's fine. He's been doing some work with the Doug Anthony All-Stars. He's around Australia. Doug Anthony All-Stars are returning to the Edinburgh Festival. But before Tim goes there, we're going to do Bunga Bunga 26 fairly shortly.
Fantastic. Yeah.
Did I tell you how pleased I am? Did I mention how pleased I am I never had children?
That's right. We had about 6 children come right past.
Six?
On scooters.
Yeah, it's amazing, good luck to them. That's 6 kids. Wow.
Anyway, yes, Bunga Bunga at maynard.com.au. But for now, Maynard, I think it's time we raced back inside the pub.
Let's go back inside the pub, go downstairs to the cellar and drink the oldest thing we can find.
Really? I think I'll just have some more chicken wings.
Well, I don't know about you, but every long weekend I feel like some science. I want to get out there and cheer and wear the favourite colours of my favourite science team and science better than anyone else on the field, then come back and go, wow, that was a day of science. Drive my soft-top car through the town, firing off a gun going, science, burn a few cars, start a riot, and that is a day of science. None of that's happened today. I just completely made that up. But I am here with Richard Saunders and Eran. Hello, Richard.
Hello, Maynard.
Hey, Eran, you came in here, you had the tickets. Big day of science for you, has it been?
No.
Nothing like what I described there.
No,
hey?
Nothing like it at all.
Well, okay. Well, hopefully Lawrence Leung can drag us out of this. Oh, wow, I just saw a little girl. She's dressed as Cinderella going into the show. How come adults can't dress as Cinderella and go into shows? I guess you can.
You can, of course you can. Why? I'm surprised. You, of all people, would say that you can't.
Well, I am dressed as well, look, I'm playing a fictional character, a well-dressed man today, Richard.
You're playing the fictional Maynard. Yes, we're here to see Lawrence Leung's show, as mentioned last week on the Skeptic Zone when we interviewed Lawrence Leung. The show's called Very Strange Things. We're here at Sydney's Town Hall, which is
really busy and very much like the Melbourne Comedy Festival. There's all these shows that they do, one after the other, and you say you've got to come in and then let the other people out and let them in. And we're at the moment where all these kids are coming out dressed as Cinderella. This is fantastic. This is a show I should have been at.
We're at the wrong show, definitely.
I had the dress, so I would have worn the bloody thing.
Anyway, we're looking forward to the show from Lawrence because it's a bit of mentalism, I think, a bit of skepticism, a bit of science.
Actually, now, how would you define mentalism? What is that? How would most people encounter that?
Mentalism is the art of pretending to be able to read people's minds or perform paranormal acts using your mind.
Okay.
So things like telekinesis and mind reading, just...
So it's much more than actually accurate cold guessing.
Well, cold reading is not... I suppose mentalism could include cold reading, except that cold reading is a very simple trick. It's not the kind of thing that you would usually be very impressed by unless you expect it to be true. If you go to a magic show, then you expect to see wonderful things like, being able to read the number of a banknote that's hidden in an envelope and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it's a lot better than what people pretending to be psychics really do.
And look, tell me, as a skeptic, have you encountered people that have seen really good magic shows and they swear black and blue that there is actual magic going on there because the magician was that good?
It's usually, yes, I have, but it usually happens when the magician is ambiguous about the message. So, for example, with Darren Brown, we've seen that. I haven't seen Darren Brown myself, but people were interviewed coming out of his shows, and because he was, especially in the early years, he was a little bit ambiguous about whether what he was doing was paranormal or magic, magic in the sense of illusion. And then some people believed that he had real powers, but now he doesn't send that message
I get confused by the term, because if someone says they're a mentalist, to me that always means that they're just slightly more legit than a psychic.
I would say they're a lot more legit. Basically, mentalism is a form of magic.
Oh, okay, right, okay, yeah.
So it's a bit like, when the person who pulls a rabbit out of a hat, they're not pretending that that's really happening, like they've really just made up the rabbit,
Okay.
No, it's similar. It's magic.
So should I suspend my disbelief during this show?
I think you would probably enjoy it more if you do, just a little bit.
Right. Do you think there'll be a smarty bum somewhere in the audience going, oh, I know how you did that?
It doesn't usually happen with good mentalism.
Okay.
Yeah, fairly...
Oh, okay.
If it's done well, then there won't
I've
be
seen
anybody
Lawrence doing some killer card tricks. He's really good with the close-up magic cards. I'll be interested to see how he goes on the stage tonight.
I'm sure he'll be good. I've heard very good reviews about this show.
And how have you felt about the work of Darren Brown as a skeptic, Richard?
Oh, that's a contentious issue because there are lots of people who understand what he's doing, a lot of people who think they understand what he's doing, a lot of people aren't happy with what he's doing, and then there are people who are.
Okay.
Yes, Minister.
Oh, okay. Yes, you were hedging your bets a few times there, but you'll be keeping quiet. You won't be carrying on. You won't be yelling out.
I'll be yelling out boo.
You won't be sceptical. You won't be cynical. You won't just be booing at inappropriate moments.
No, I'll keep my trap shut.
Oh, look, this is the star interview. This is the thing I've been looking forward to. Last night, I went to see a show that was called Very Strange Things. And, look, I didn't see a lot of strange things there, but I was truly mystified. Lawrence, how are you?
Great. Good to speak to you again, Maynard.
Oh, look, I was in the front row for your show, and I hope that wasn't a bit off-putting, because I realised you wanted to get people from the audience, but you couldn't get people you knew up, could you?
Yeah, no, I never get people up onto stage that I know. So... I think it's because with the type of show that this is, people might think that they're actors or stooges or accomplices. And, generally I don't have, any actors or stooges in the show. So I like to look out into the audience, and I generally choose people who are smiling and enjoying the show, because it means that they'll be friendly on stage, have a nice personality, not being, dicks on stage. And generally it's people who are there having a good time. It makes a better show when everyone has a good time together.
The show has done the Melbourne Comedy Festival.
Yes.
We're here for the Sydney Comedy Festival.
Yeah.
I believe you're going to Perth.
That's right. So my show, Very Strange Things, is going to the Perth Comedy Festival in May. So May, I think it's 5, 6 and 7 is the weekend there at the start of May. And I'm performing at the Town Hall in Perth. I've never been there before. I mean, I've been to Perth, but not to the Town Hall.
Yeah, and what's you in Town Hall? Because there was a Town Hall in Melbourne, wasn't it? That's where the Comedy Festival was. Sydney Town Hall, Perth Town Hall.
Yeah. Melbourne was at the Malthouse Theatre. Oh, okay. But yes, I have played the Town Hall before. Seems to be a comedy festival type thing to have people, funny buggers, invade civic buildings.
And of course you would, know the show Unbelievable.
Producer just stepping in for a second.
He does this, and the thing is, I thought he was at home sleeping.
Just to say that it's the sort of comedy that normally happens in a town hall, right?
Yeah.
Right. Bye-bye.
Right. I figure.
Thank you. Producer contribution.
Yes. So what about going to Brisbane or, some regional areas?
Yeah. It's on the cards, on the planning table, in the calendar. Haven't fixed any dates just yet, but in the meantime, concentrating on this part of the tour first, and then second half of the year we'll move the show to other parts of Australia, because I have had a lot of people say on the Facebook, but why not Brisbane? Come to Tasmania. And it's like, I want to. So we just got to lock in the theatres and get it all planned. And it's a show that I think can travel quite well. I mean, everywhere I performed it, the crowds have been absolutely amazing. They really enjoy a show which is both kind of, on one hand entertaining, but on the other hand it has a bit of sneaky education in it as well. Like, I like to do stuff that's from a sceptical bent.
Yeah, and it's got buckets of your wit in it too. Like last night, the thing that, I wouldn't say impressed me, but the thing that I really got out of the show was you were working hard and you were working efficiently through the whole show. It was like you were doing a sprint through it, and it was great. But you knew what you were doing. You didn't trip over once. There was one or two things that didn't go well, and you kept going. It was almost like a mentalist Tommy Cooper at one stage there.
Yeah. I think it's important that when you do a show like this, everything feels like it's flying on the seat of its pants.
Yep.
I don't like to see shows which are, boring. So, and if things go amazingly well, that's great. And if things kind of slip up, it just makes it kind of fun, because it means that every night's different. Yeah. So I can play with the crowd, and because everything's so unpredictable in the show. I don't know what's going to happen once people are joining in and part of the show. Anything can happen, and I've had some amazing stories, some crazy people coming up on stage, and just there's one point where there's a part in the show, without spoiling too much, because I don't want to spoil the show.
That's the thing. I'm not saying too much, because I actually went along not knowing a thing about the show. You could have been doing a documentary on the paranormal for all I knew, so I didn't know. So, and I just enjoyed what I saw last night.
Yeah. There's one person in the show who stood up and threw their phone to the floor. Thinking that I was almost demonic, like I'd possessed their phone.
Wow.
Yeah, without giving away too much of what happens in that particular moment. And that was fun, and that was purely just someone reacting so much to one of the effects in the show. So basically the show, for those of you who don't know, it's kind of about my experiences experimenting, and also dabbling in experimenting if there is such a thing as the paranormal and supernatural things out there. And over the years I've researched and found out a lot of different techniques of how fake psychics and charlatans do their things, and I basically demonstrate that on stage with a live audience.
Have you had people that go, no, you have got the gift? Have you had people that have said, no, you haven't got the gift? I know in your show Unbelievable there was a woman that you could not convince that you were faking it, but has that happened in the show?
I've had people come up with all sorts of theories. Not one that would be saying that I'm a psychic, because I emphatically throughout the entire show, almost every time I do something which is psychic, I say I'm not a psychic. And I love that delicious irony of the fact that I can be more accurate than most people who claim to be psychic, despite the fact that I'm in no way psychic at all. I am doing illusions. They're psychological illusions, but they're certainly not psychic.
Here's a question I have to ask you, because you do great close-up magic. I've seen you and Adam, the world's greatest teacher, doing some absolutely brilliant card tricks in front of me. You do some great card tricks. And I spoke to a magician last night who was very upset with the likes of Penn and Teller, because he thought that they in some way bring the whole magic industry into disrepute by giving stuff away and treating the whole thing as if letting some of the secret go. And I'm a big Penn and Teller fan, and he specifically did where they do the cups and balls with the clear cups and balls.
Yes.
Now, after watching that, you are no wiser as to how the cups and balls are done, and I don't think it actually ruins a trick. But how do you feel about that attitude from some in the magic game that think that they bring the whole thing down a bit? Yeah,
right. It's interesting because I'm not part of any magic circle or subscribe to any. I'm not really a magician. I just like to know. I know how things are done, and as a hobby, and also as someone who loves this world, I do a lot of research, and I do hang out with a lot of magicians as well. A lot of my friends are. But I don't see myself as a magician as such. So when it comes to the ethics of busting tricks, it's about what is the where does the rule come from and why? And on one hand, if we talk about it in terms of the secret is to preserve someone's mystery or profession, because it's their job, right? So I can understand it for a professional point of view, it's protecting their jobs because it's a job that relies on secrets and mystery. But personally, I think it's more of a philosophical question, because it is ultimately about where in magic does the mystery lie? Does it lie in the minds of the audience or not? Now, there are people who feel like magic can only get better if the obvious tricks, or the tricks which are stock standard or cliched, or, to be blunt, hack, if those tricks are exposed by people of the caliber of, say, Penn and Teller, maybe it will force the industry and the magicians to make better tricks, and not better tricks, but better methods. And I'm not 100% familiar with the routine with the clear cups and balls. I think I've seen it on YouTube. I'm not familiar with the methods because I haven't sat down and reverse engineered and watched it. But to me, it's not about exposing magic. To me, it's about celebrating the history of the cups and balls, which is what the presentation's about. It's about the love of magic. And then Penn and Teller top that by doing it with showing you how they do it with clear cups and balls. But then they always do the thing at the end of their routines. Once they expose something, then they gazump you with a method you could not have imagined, and then top it. So, and I do similar things in this show. Early on in the show, I make things look very easy and within the realms of credibility or believability, and then a few scenes later in my show, Very Strange Things, I will hopefully gazump the audience by ramping it from 10 to 200% really quickly, and then hopefully leave the audience with their head scratching, but also to preserve the mystery. So without giving away too much in the show, I do challenge the audience to inquire inside their own minds whether they want to be someone who knows everything or someone who enjoys mystery.
And since the show's all about science, I don't know, what is your favourite scientific invention or discovery? I mean, I'm a big fan of the earbud, the simple everyday earbud. I mean, someone had to learn how to wrap that cotton, and we use it every day. I mean, that's a pretty good thing. I mean, okay, it's not fire, but it's good.
I think it sort of depends on the situation. If we're in an apocalyptic situation, I think a can opener would be a very good invention.
That's true.
The toilet is a very good invention.
Okay, zombie apocalypse, you're going to go with the shotgun or the baseball bat?
Oh, God.
Yeah, that's always a tough one.
I think I'd have to go the baseball. No, you know what? I'll go the shotgun.
Okay.
Because once it runs out of bullets, you can use it like a baseball bat.
So it's like two things. That's a good
You've got
point.
close quarters and long range. And also the shotgun would have to have a strap so I can wear it over my shoulder, because if I have to run with a baseball bat, I may not be able to climb things. I'm thinking about this.
No, this is a good one.
In this apocalyptic scenario.
Wow, that is great. And have you had anyone in the show yet that's gone, I know how you do that, and has tried to almost ruin the show for you? Is it some smart-ass kid?
No, I haven't any. I've had some smart asses, but they're always wrong. And that's why it's so entertaining, because the most often I get accused of having stooges or actors in the show because they can't think of any other way it could be done. And there are no stooges or actors in the show, but to me, I take this as almost the ultimate compliment.
You ain't sharing the door with anybody.
Yeah, I'm not sharing my ticket money with anyone.
Yeah.
It's and also think of the practicalities of me having to travel around the country with different people for every single show, because people are coming back and they're bringing their friends and their family coming back to the show. So why would you have the same actors dressed in different moustaches and hats or something?
Yeah, it'd be like Lawrence and his crisis actors for his magic show. You know what? Yeah. Well, our Perth listeners can look forward to that. It's only a couple of shows you're doing there at the Town Hall, isn't it?
Yeah, it's May 5, 6 and 7, or 6, 7, 8, one of those dates. Yeah, you just have to go to the perthcomedyfestival.com website, .com.au, I think it is.
Cool. And what about you yourself online? Where can people find you online, where you've got the landing page for all this stuff?
Oh yeah, it's basically my Facebook page. It's called Lawrence Leung Official, I think. Just do a search for it, actually. Or I'm on Instagram and Twitter as well. So on Twitter, I'm Lawrence_Leung, and on Instagram, I am Mr. Lawrence Leung. But I'm sure all the links will be provided with this podcast interview.
I probably have asked you this question before, and I do ask to all the skeptics there. If one woo was true, what would you want that to be? Would you like it, I don't know, speaking to the dead or any other kind of woo? What woo would you want to be true?
I don't want to speak to the dead. I find that kind of morbid. I don't want to be able to read people's minds, because I think once you can do that, it takes away the mystery in the world. And then I'll start to become more self-conscious, because I've spent my entire time worrying what people think about me.
Yeah.
And that would be the worst thing ever, to actually be constantly hearing what's in people's heads. You'll actually be bored with life, because there'll be no mystery left.
And also the potential cacophony.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So the woo that I want to be real, if it could be one, I don't know, I guess finding water, divining. Because, once again in the apocalypse, when the zombies come out, I need fresh water. So if I could divine where water sources would be and I have my shotgun, I think I'll be fine.
Cool. Lawrence, thanks a lot. You and your shotgun are welcome on this show anytime.
I sound like a right-winger all of a sudden. Guns. Great to talk to you.
Secrets of the Psychics. Australian Skeptics Sydney dinner meeting, 4th of June at the Ryde Eastwood Leagues Club in West Ryde. In preparation for the visit by psychic medium John Edward to Australia, we're thrilled to have a special event for our next dinner meeting in Sydney, a double act, with a demonstration of psychic powers by self-professed psychic Nellie Klein, and an explanation of the psychic skills by Richard Saunders, judge of the psychic TV challenge show The One, and senior investigator for Australian Skeptics Inc. Miss Klein has agreed to do readings of members of our audience, giving you the chance to see her psychic powers in action and see how accurate they are. Richard will follow this with a presentation of psychic tricks of the trade, using his extensive knowledge and confrontation with claimants. Ooh, that sounds interesting. I might even go to this one myself. So that's the Australian Skeptics dinner meeting, the 4th of June, at the Ryde Eastwood Leagues Club in West Ryde. 6:30 for 7:15, it says. Cost is $50 per person, which includes a buffet dinner, and the dinners there are pretty damn good. Plus a lucky door prize. Somebody will get their ticket refunded. For more information, visit www.skeptics.com.au. It's the Raw Skeptic Report with Heidi Robertson.
Well, here I am at Eltham Pub in northern New South Wales. A beautiful pub, great food if you're ever in the area. And I'm pleased to say this is the inaugural Skeptics in the Pub in northern New South Wales, the epicentre of pseudoscience, some may say. We've actually got quite a good turnout for our first event. We've got about 15 people here, which is good, all ages, all walks of life. It's just, I can't tell you how good it is to be sitting around a table of like-minded people in the Northern Rivers. Absolutely fantastic. I'm about to do a 2-minute little talk on what skepticism is. I'm doing a disclaimer to start with that I am certainly no expert in this, but my own experiences thus far and what I've learned. So hopefully we'll be doing a lot more of these and maybe some other reports in the future. And here we are in the inaugural Skeptics in the Pub in northern New South Wales. And who have we got here?
Leonie Price.
Leonie, and you were the one that instigated this. Thank you so much for doing it. I've been, as you know, wanting to do it for a very long time, but you were the one that got it all together. So thank you. Can you tell us what was your inspiration for starting Skeptics in the Pub in the Northern Rivers?
Well, firstly, I wanted to meet all the wonderful people I've been talking to online. But secondly, I wanted to network and just find out what their main interests were in relation to skepticism.
Tell me what your particular interest in the area of skepticism is. Is it like Bigfoot or UFOs, or tell us what you're most drawn to?
The major issue that I'm interested in has to do with vaccination. When I first moved up here, I came from a family where everyone was vaccinated. No one questioned it. I had a mother who used to nurse babies who died from scourges that are no longer a problem now, like they died from measles, chicken pox, diphtheria, things that just unknown now. You don't get diphtheria. And yet, last week, there was a young lady out in Casino caught diphtheria from someone who came in from overseas. And the reason for that is the low vaccination rate in the northern New South Wales.
Yes.
When I first moved up here, the first year, there was a whooping cough outbreak. And unfortunately, there were a couple of babies who died. And I was gobsmacked. I couldn't believe in this day and age that 2 precious children could die from a disease that should not happen. When I discovered that the major anti-vaccination network was operating out of here and they were vilifying these families who had lost babies, I became very angry. And that was my in.
Mm-hmm. And you joined the Northern Rivers Vaccination Supporters.
I did. And so that is how I became involved. Just the horror of children dying when it's completely unnecessary.
Yeah.
And it all comes back to people's inability to think skeptically and assess whether what they're being told is valid or whether it's just off with the fairies.
Yeah, it's all about critical thinking, isn't it?
Exactly.
Well, thank you, Leonie. I'll let you get back to your slow-cooked ribs, and thank you very much for organising it today.
Okay, thank you.
And I'm here with another young man now who has joined us for the inaugural Skeptics in the Pub. And who have we got here? What's your name?
My name's David.
Hello, David. You're from the States by the sounds of it?
Yes.
Yes. And can you tell us what drew you here today to Skeptics in the Pub?
I was involved in skeptics movement activities in the States, and we haven't had anything like that here in a while. Since I've been here, there's a lot of woo going on, so no, it's cool.
Great.
Do something like this. I'm really excited about it.
Good. And tell us what irks you the most. what is your particular bugbear when it comes to pseudoscience?
Anti-vaccines certainly comes to mind. I think that does a lot of damage.
Okay, and anything else in particular? Are you interested in the whole UFOs and fake moon landings? And
definitely
Bigfoot?
Interested in the stuff, yeah.
Yes.
Always interested in that, conspiracy culture. It's fascinating stuff, but always open to talking about that.
Great. Well, thank you very much for coming, and we look forward to seeing you at other Skeptics in the Pub in the future.
Thank you much.
Right. And here I am with Peter at the first Skeptics in the Pub. And Peter, what brought you here today?
I've never been in a skeptics group, but I am quite sceptical about pseudoscience.
And have you always been that way, or was there something that
Always.
Always, even as a child, you've been
I did a science degree at school, not at school, at university. So.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Yes, right. So you're well versed in the scientific method, and does it drive you crazy living in an area like this where there is a lot of pseudoscience and misinformation around?
Yeah, I do feel quite alone in the place.
Well, you're certainly not alone.
In the Skeptic Society, which is why I came.
That's right. Yeah. And tell me, is there some sort of pseudoscience in particular that really irks you, that gets your goat?
Well, it's this kind of pseudoscience that ignores basic physics, or basic chemistry or biology.
Give us an example of that.
Okay. Well, I saw a documentary put out by the Theosophical Society just recently that had a diagram in it of the sun revolving around Sirius and claiming that every 24,000 years the sun and Sirius orbit each other, which makes our sun and Sirius a kind of twin star. And then the diagram was kind of interesting, but when I thought about it, I thought, well, there's other stars between the sun and Sirius. There's Alpha Centauri, which is a cluster of stars. So if the sun and Sirius are revolving around each other, and there are other stars nearer than Sirius, then the whole thing must be gravitationally bound, not just the sun and Sirius. And I thought, well, actually, I've never heard of that in astronomy, and where on earth does it come from? And how come, an idea like that can be propagated from a society like the Theosophical Society, which has got lots of adherents.
Yes, I have to admit, I haven't really come across a lot of pseudoscience in the field of astronomy, but maybe that's because I haven't really been looking for that in particular, but it's certainly out there.
Well, I don't think you'll find pseudoscience in the field of astronomy.
No.
But the field of theosophy you will.
Yes, and perhaps astrology.
Yeah, astrology, that's right.
Oh, well, thank you, Peter. I'll let you get back to your lunch, and hopefully we'll see you at more Skeptics in the Pubs in the future.
Cool. Thank you.
Thank you. And here I am with a lovely lady who has been to several Skeptics events with me in the past. Who have we got here?
Doreen Parsons.
Hello, Doreen. And are you very excited about this inaugural Skeptics in the Pub in the Northern Rivers?
Excited is a bit of an exaggeration, but I love it.
I can see the excitement on your face. Come on, you can hardly prevent yourself from jumping up and down.
Okay. Thrilled, I'm jumping up and down.
And you were saying earlier that you've been involved in skepticism for probably the last couple of years. What was it that initially drew you to it?
Well, I know I've always been a skeptic. I was involved with Stop the AVN Facebook page, and it was there I learnt of the skeptics groups, and I then joined the Australian Skeptics Facebook page.
Yes, so you've been another vocal advocate for vaccination, particularly in the Northern Rivers. Yes, that's fantastic, and we value you as a member of our group as well.
Yes, I'm old enough to remember most of these diseases.
Tell us a bit more about that. What do you remember?
I remember my mother talking about my sister having measles and how ill she was, and she high fever and nightmares, and she sat up all night with her. I had measles too, but I was too young to remember that. And my oldest two children had measles, not quite as bad as my sister, I believe. I was a single mother at the time and working. I lost my job because I had to take 6 weeks off work. I went to the daycare centre to pick up the children, and I was told measles was going through the daycare centre.
That must have been horrifying.
Again, horrifying is a bit too strong a word, because then just about every child got measles at some time.
Yeah.
And my children were getting it at daycare. In fact, my daughter caught it off my son because she was younger. She was only a baby. She was in a different part of the daycare centre. And so that meant 3 weeks with one, 3 weeks with the other. I went back to work and they, as they used to say in England, gave me my cards. I lost my job.
So did they, would it be fair to say that back then, because it was such a prevalent childhood disease, were people actually aware of how serious it could be? In fact, sometimes it is a fatal disease. Was that?
I certainly wasn't aware of it. No.
So there's a lot more knowledge around that now and awareness.
I've become aware of it since joining the Stop the AVN and reading a lot of material on Facebook, and also looking up information. And I found the year I had measles, it was in the thousands. About 2,000 babies died. Children died of measles. The year my son had measles, I think there were 200 and something deaths. People were still getting measles. The medical care had improved in those years. And they were saving them.
Yes.
But at the time, I didn't know of anybody.
Yes. And lastly, is there a particular brand of pseudoscience that really irritates you, apart from the vaccination thing?
I think all of them, but complementary medicine the most.
Yes. Anything in particular within that field?
Not only complementary medicine, or the alternative, such as cannabis oil.
The wide variety of claims for...
Yes. And people who choose to use this rather than going to see an oncologist if they have cancer, for example.
Yes, it's a real worry, isn't it?
Yeah. And I'm at the age, I know quite a few people who have cancer, who died. I had a good friend, and he became so annoyed, people telling him that his blood was too alkaline or too acid. I've forgotten which it is.
I think they promote the alkaline diet.
It's supposed to be alkaline, yes. So, and he said, he got annoyed and he said, I don't want to have to deal with that now, I just wave them away.
Yes. Yeah.
This is a man dealing with the news that he had pancreatic cancer and it was terminal. And lots of people were suggesting he take these alternative remedies. And others I know who have taken them rather than conventional medicine.
Yes, I completely understand where you're coming from with that. That's one of my own bugbears as well. But listen, I'll let you get back to the table. Thank you for being here and hope to see you at more Skeptics in the Pub in the Northern Rivers.
You will. Thank you.
For more information about the Skeptics in the Pub in the Northern Rivers, Google Rainbow Region Skeptics in the Pub.
AstronomyCast takes a facts-based journey through the cosmos as it offers listeners weekly discussions on astronomical topics ranging from planets to cosmology. Hosted by Fraser Kane of Universe Today and myself, Dr. Pamela Gay of Southern Illinois University, Edwardsville, this show brings the questions of an avid astronomy lover directly to an astronomer. Together, Fraser and I explore what is known and being discovered about the universe around us. Join us each week as we take a facts-based journey through the cosmos at astronomycast.com.
And now we bring you an update of a story that we brought you a few weeks ago about a chiropractor who adjusted the back of of a 4-day-old baby. And the reason we know this happened is because the chiropractor kindly put this video up on YouTube for all to see. This story has been picked up by the Daily Mail, as published at www.dailymail.co.uk. Doctors condemn shocking video of a crying 4-day-old baby having her back cracked by a chiropractor because she is suffering from colic. Video shows Australian chiropractor cracking a 4-day-old baby's back. The chiropractor can be heard explaining his treatment to the parents. He manipulates the tiny baby's body before a loud crack can be heard. Other medical professionals have expressed concerns over the treatment. By Freya Noble. Published on the 22nd of April, 2016. An Australian chiropractor has posted a confronting video of him cracking the back of a crying baby at just 4 days old. The chiropractor treats a range of patient ailments, including colic, which the 2-week premature baby was suffering from at the time. He posts many videos of him treating patients to his YouTube channel. However, this particular one has caused concern amongst doctors. In this footage, he is seen holding the baby girl, wiggling her around as he talks to the parents through the adjustment. He stretches out her tiny body, and there is a loud crack, followed by the crying from the little patient.
I have to, unfortunately, just extend her a little bit to get it in the right place. That's why we be quick. Oh, darling.
The chiropractor can then be heard explaining the cause of their baby's distress and how his manipulation helped the child. Quote, "When you see the parents returned with these children, they always report that the child is just so much more comfortable, they sleep so much better, they eat so much better," end quote, he said in the video. There is a long-running debate between different treatments used by doctors and chiropractors. Dr. Frank Jones, president of the Royal Australian College of General Practitioners, told the Daily Mail Australia that it was a cruel process. Quote, "Well, I think this was an unnecessary and seemingly almost cruel process that there is actually no evidence to support," end quote, Dr. Jones said. Quote, "Why would you ever do that? It shouldn't be advertised, it shouldn't be practiced," end quote. Dr. Jones said, while there was, quote, "mild to moderate," end quote, evidence that chiropractors were successful in treating mechanical back pain, treating anything else had no scientific backing. Quote, "There is actually no evidence whatsoever that manipulating the spine makes any difference to things such as colic or asthma," end quote, he said. Melbourne surgeon Dr. John Cunningham, who specialises in spines, said he was shocked to see someone adjusting the spine of a newborn baby. In February, Dr. Cunningham made a formal complaint to the Australian Healthcare Practitioners Regulation Agency, AHPRA. AHPRA regulates the chiropractic board, and the surgeon has called for the board to be sacked. However, the agency's CEO, Martin Felcher, who oversees the chiropractic board, disagreed, saying there was no need for the board to be sacked, and the, quote, "high standards of chiropractic practice are in place," end quote. Daily Mail Australia has contacted the chiropractor in question for a comment. And that story comes from Freya Noble at www.dailymail.co.uk, and for the full shocking video of the baby getting this so-called treatment, you can check the show notes for this week's episode, or simply Google "Doctors Condemn Shocking Video of Crying 4-Day-Old Baby." That should do it. And the ABC Radio here in Australia has covered this story extensively on their background briefing program. I'll add a link to the show notes, but if you Google background briefing Chiro Wars, CHIRO, you'll find the page and the download, so you can download the entire 35-minute episode they've devoted to this issue. It is well worth your time to listen.
G'day, this is Dr. Karl Kruszelnicki, proud to be a skeptic, and you can find out more about me at drkarl.com and get lots of free stuff there as well.
Wow, what a show!
And my voice is almost gone. I'm so excited about that show. Now, I've not been exactly well over the last few weeks, and this rotten infection is still just hanging on there, but never mind.
Well, also, listeners, you've had a hell of a time of it lately, too. You need a good lie down.
I do. I need a good another coffee or something, yes.
And I certainly met the kittens. The kittens have been doing a lot of powerful work in the Saunders household. In fact, I've got to say, when I look at the two kittens you've got, Hen and Maud, they're actually doing more than you. They're really showing you up, actually. I saw them upstairs on the computer doing some Googling earlier, and they're amazing.
Well, I've taught them how to produce the show now. They actually do the editing, which saves a lot of time for me. But you made a funny video with the kittens.
I did. I inadvertently did kitten magic because I thought, look, people unbox stuff all the time. Let's unbox some kittens. And it worked.
It worked. If you go to maynard.com.au, you can see Maynard and doing magic tricks with the Skeptic Zone kittens.
Okay. Look, and until then, I'll let you do the outro. This is Maynard doing generic sign-off.
Thank you, Maynard. But for this week, standing outside the Henson pub here in Marrickville, this is Richard Saunders signing off.
There's just too many kids.
You've been listening to the Skeptic Zone podcast. Visit our website at www.skepticzone.tv for contacts, an archive of all episodes since 2008, and our online store. Please support the Skeptic Zone by following us on Twitter @SkepticZone, liking us on Facebook, and leaving a review on iTunes. You can also show your support by subscribing via PayPal for as little as 99 cents a week. The Skeptic Zone is an independent production. The views and opinions expressed on the Skeptic Zone are not necessarily those of Australian Skeptics Inc. or any other skeptical organisation.